Hi, my name is Riley Allen. This is my review of the 2008 movie Tinkerbell. Now, this movie was made by Disney Toon Studios, which is where Disney makes all the movies they don't want to brand a Disney animated film, I guess. So I guess they wanted to make a movie about Tinkerbell. They wanted to make from Peter Pan, and so they wanted to try and cash that in. So we start off with the little lore of and I do believe this is these movies are technically canon to the Disney movie Peter Pan. They sure treat it like it's canon, so I mean, that matters to you. So we start off with a baby laughing, and we get the lore that when a baby laughs for the first time, a fairy is born. So basically what it's saying is there should be a lot more fairies than we see in this show, or in this movie. I don't know what time period this takes place in, but there should be, millions, maybe? I don't know. I don't know the population, what year it takes place in the population, but there should definitely be a lot more than what we should see. They should be having a population crisis or some shit. Anyway, we see one little petal basically knock itself on a ship's bell, and I'm assuming that's supposed to be Tinkerbell. In the beginning, we saw a lot of these little petals, and I'm wondering if it's like baby turtles, or just some of them don't make it. So there's two theories that I got now. Either one, they're like baby sea turtles, and there's just some fairy predators we were not introduced to yet, that were snatching them up. Or two, there's several different colonies all around the world. Actually, no, that doesn't make sense, because they go to Pixie Hollow, and Pixie Hollow is in Neverland. So unless Neverland's like this different realm, and there's other islands than Neverland, I don't know. Anyway, we see Tinkerbell, and we're introduced to the concept of working. Girl's only 2 seconds old, and she's already got to get a job. Also, we're introduced to Queen Clarion. How was she made the queen? I need to know this. Is there some lore I need to know? Because if she was born the same way, that means she's just a regular. If she was born the same as the other fairies, how did she become queen? Was she the laugh of a royal child somewhere? Was she elected? Is this a democracy? I don't know. So we're introduced to the jobs, which is light fairies, animal fairies, garden fairies, water fairies, fast flying fairies, dust fairies. There's snow fairies or whatever. That I think that this kind of get retcons in another part of one of the other future movies, where it basically retcons the snow or frost or winter, whatever fairies they were called, into several different things. Or unless if you're made a frost fairy, then you have a secondary sorting at the winter place. We're all right, so you're with us now. Here's your subsections. Okay, yeah. Also, I need another note. Why wasn't the head of the Tinker Fairies there? I feel like a new fairy is the perfect. I feel like the heads of whatever branch of fairy you are should be there. There's a new fairy going to be born. They might be your new co-worker. You should be there, but we don't meet the head of the Tinker Fairies, Fairy Mary, till later on. Side note, once Tinkerbell initially dismisses the hammer of the Tinkers but it's like, nah, bitch, you're with me, and basically floats up like Thor's hammer, being summoned from wherever. And then she's dubbed Tinkerbell, and this brings up a question: Is her name just Belle, and everybody just calls her Tinkerbell? Because nobody ever calls Clank. Why is she named Tinkerbell? Because nobody ever looks at Clank and Bobble, who are two other fairies, and says, this is Tinker Clank and Tinker Bobble. Or, this is Animal Fairy Fawn, or Iridessa, the light fairy Iridessa. What? Was Queen Clarion just feeling special that day? Like, you're a Tinker Fairy, you're gonna be Tinkerbell. Trying something new today. Anyways, we are introduced to Clank and Bobble, who are two fellow Tinker Fairies, and we're basically introduced to the idea of every other person's the cool kids because they get to go to the mainland. We're the third-class bitches who do all the hard work, and reap none of the benefits. We got a little hovel. It's quaint. It's cute. It's not as good as the other things, but we're supposed to like it. Also, Tinkerbell is shown to be a natural tinker, which brings up the idea that, is this just like imparted memories? Like, yep, you're a tinker. Here's all the thing you need to know about tinkering. There you go. Figure it out. She's introduced to her house, and she turns her clothes into the iconic little short green leaf dress she's known to wear. She then meets Fairy Mary, who I'm assuming is like the leader of the Tinker Fairies. And how did that happen? Was she just promoted and then she made it that way, or I don't know. And is Fairy a title? I'm thinking Fairy's a title because in a future movie we are introduced to the Dust Fairy Gary. I think he's so then Tinkerbell helps Clank and Bobble deliver all the supplies. And that's where she hears about the mainland. And she wants to go to the mainland because that shit sounds awesome. So she meets 4 fairies, and for the life of me, I can't remember their names. So I had pulled up the Wikipedia page so I could remember their names. Their names are Silvermist, who is a water fairy. Iridessa, who is a light fairy. Rosetta, who is a garden fairy. And Fawn, who is an animal fairy. Nah, what in the Hunger Games naming convention is this? Were they really all named after... Queen Clarion needs to get her, if she named all these people, she needs to, get some better names. Because I'm pretty sure they were all named after, their occupation. And then there's just Terrence, who was a dust fairy. Was she just sitting there for a good, 10 minutes? Like, we already got 50 Dusties and, about 100 Dustins. Terrence. Your name is Terrence. We're also introduced to Vidya, who is what is she? What is she? A fast-flying fairy. And she's the mean girl of this movie. Tinkerbell eventually goes and decides to tinker to prove that she is, the best and worthy of going to the mainland. She ends up going to making this invention and presenting it to the queen, and it malfunctions, and the queen has to inform her that only the useful fairies get to go to the mainland. You're just a tinker fairy. Wonderful. So she decides, Fairy Mary tries to give her some advice, and like, Fairy Mary's very happy where she is. She loves being a Tinker Fairy. She loves doing her jobs to the point, although she is a bit stuck in her ways, because when Tinkerbell got all this lost things that washed up on Neverland from the mainland, she kind of took them away and said, no, we must can't get distracted by all this. We got time crunches or whatever. So Tinkerbell takes Fairy Mary's advice and decides that she needs to switch his profession. So she goes to all her friends, and they attempt to help her, but it fails because she's a Tinker Fairy. This is what she was, I guess, born to do, chosen to do. This is what she excels at, just like Silver Mist excels at water things. So she goes to Vidya, and Vidya basically tricks her into trying to capture these thistle things. Now, to Tinkerbell's credit, she starts to do decently at it, but Vidya didn't like it, so she basically sabotaged her, which sent all the thistles, destroying everything, ruining the spring preparations. And of course, we're at the time crunch. We're only like 3 days away from spring or something like that. So Tinkerbell basically kind of rallies the troops in a sense. This is her moment. This is her acceptance moment. Oh, no, before this. Before this, she ended up finding a broken music box, ballerina music box, which she fixed. And her friends saw this and said that this is her. That's what she excels at. She's good at being a tinker. She shouldn't, it was... she shouldn't, be worried about trying to be something she's not, I guess, type thing. But she didn't listen, and then she went to Vidya, and this happened. But this was her realization moment that she is a tinker. And a good one. She created inventions that basically sped up the processization or whatever, and steamrolled spring preparations to completion. Side note, is this implying that Tinkerbell is like the best tinker ever? Because none of these things were apparently invented before her, so were all the other tinkers just like, well, we did all we could. That's that. Anyways, so after helping the preparations, Vidya kind of screws herself over by admitting what she did, and Queen Clarendon punishes her by saying she must recapture the thistles or whatever. Okay, so that's fair. And then she offers Tinkerbell to go to the mainland, which she denies initially until Fairy Mary comes out with the music box Tinkerbell repaired and says that there's someone missing this. And this is the reason I say they treat it like it's canon to the Peter Pan movies, because the music box, we find out, belongs to Wendy Darling. And that's how the movie ends. I don't think this movie did pretty good. I think it lost money. At least box office wise. Maybe it did pretty good sales. I also don't know why Disney decided to make this their part of their Disney Toon Studios and not a regular Disney movie. I feel like it had done better as a regular Disney movie. And also, I'm just kind of shocked they made a Tinkerbell movie, not a regular mainstream Disney animated movie. Because, I'm pretty sure Tinkerbell was one of their top characters alongside Mickey for a good while. Or even before Mickey. I don't know the timeline on that. But I know she was pretty important for a little while. I actually really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a pretty great movie. There was the things that I was confused about were some of the lore reasons, like why is there a queen? How do fairies age? Because Tinkerbell came out looking like a full adult or something. Where are all the other fairies at? Because, but if a fairy's born every time a child laughs, where are the other fairies? Again, is it because, like, the sea turtles, they didn't make it to the ocean, they got snapped up by fairy predators? Or is there other colonies other than Pixie Hollow? Also, I didn't mention this, but Terrence the Dust Fairy did help, was one of the reasons that Tinkerbell basically helped herself realize that she's a good tinker. That's what she is, a tinker fairy. Didn't mention that. I thought it was important because I liked the scene. And I guess it's kind of important because I think Terrence becomes a bigger character with Tinkerbell. Overall, I'm going to give this movie an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. So, that in mind, 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching the video. Leave a like, comment, subscribe if you want, and I'll see you in the next video.